The last time y'all saw me on these cameras, I looked like what I was going through. But we are moved, we're settled. I'm looking a little bit put together now, and we thank the Lord for that. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Tabby Talk. We have quite a bit to talk about today. It's been so long since I did one of my sit down videos, and of course, I could not conclude my moving series without talking about the financial aspect of moving. Moving is nothing new for me. However, this is the first time in a long time that I have moved across states, and it was, as you can tell in my last vlog, very stressful. But I am back to peace and tranquility, and I am loving my new apartment and the new community that I have found here. I'm an avid renter and I know quite a thing or two about moving and especially the financial aspects of it. So, we're going to have a little chat today. So, let's say you wake up one day and you decide you don't want to exchange your peace of mind for free rent at your family home and you want your own place. There are a couple of steps you need to take before making that decision. If you're in a situation where you're living with family and you don't feel like you're prepared to have your own place financially or even mentally, please stay at your family home. There is absolutely nothing wrong with still living with your parents at any point of your life if that's something that you choose for yourself. However, if you're someone who's ready for that independence and you want your own place, whether it's solo or having a roommate, whatever the case might be, I'm here to share some tips that might help you prepare for this next step. So, of course, the first thing that you have to consider when it comes to moving out or in on your own is your finances, because you need to pay the rent, you need to pay bills, you need to buy groceries. There's a lot that will be coming at you when you move. So, first things first, look at your monthly income or even your annual income. When you look at your annual income, you can calculate how much you're comfortable to spend towards rent. The general rule of thumb is to not spend any more than 30% of your income. You do not want to spend more than 30% of your income, because what's going to happen is you're going to spend most of your money on rent and living that you're actually not going to be living. You're going to be stuck inside enjoying that rent because you can't afford to go out and vacation and have fun with friends because rent is due. When you analyze your financial situation and you know how much rent could possibly be comfortable for you, I highly recommend saving towards this move. So give yourself 3 months at least in advance of moving so that you can comfortably save, maybe even more time. You can even take a year to prepare towards moving just so you're financially ready. You do not want to move with no savings and dependent on credit card, because what's going to happen is you're going to be in crippling debt from moving. And then by the time you're moved in, you have to pay rent and bills and everything. So you're not even going to have that extra funds aside to pay the debt that you've accrued. So you've assessed your income, you know how much you make, and you know how much 30% of that is for you to put towards your living expenses. So now you have a budget to work towards when it comes to looking at apartments. I have to stress this point: when you have a comfortable amount to put towards living expenses, do not be tricked to go above that amount when you start looking at apartments. You're going to find apartments that you love and that are beautiful and has everything that you're looking for, but it is 50% of your income. Remember the plan you made in the beginning. Don't spend more than 30%, please. It is okay to see a beautiful apartment that you admire and just admire it from afar. Now that you've assessed the cost of rent and what is comfortable for you to afford, you also have to consider other costs like utilities and what your groceries will look like, because now you're not living with your parents anymore or your family member, so everything is dependent on you. Another cost that you should keep in mind aside from rent and utilities is the deposit upon move-in. When you find an apartment that you actually like, you're going to be asked for a deposit. Some apartments might ask for $1,000 deposit. Some apartments might ask for a deposit of first and last month. So you want to ask about that while you're in the stage of apartment searching so that you have that number prepared to put down. Another hidden cost to consider when it comes to moving is the moving cost itself. Some people might decide to get movers in the process, and some people might decide to do it on their own. Look at what your situation is. How much stuff do you need to move? If you don't necessarily need movers, you can save yourself on that cost and ask family members or friends to help you, or even sell some things so that you reduce the amount of stuff you'll be moving with. However, if you have a whole load of stuff and you need movers, you want to keep that cost in mind because it can creep up on you. That's something that's often forgotten about. And then when it comes to moving, you realize you have to cough up $500 for movers. So keep that in mind, budget it in or budget it out if it's not necessary. So now you've paid for your deposit, you've paid your first month of rent, you've paid for the movers, you're ready to move in. You also want to consider the price of furniture when you move in. This is why it is very important to start saving from the jump so that when you move in, you're not swiping your credit card buying thousands of dollars of furniture that you did not prepare for. You definitely want to calculate the cost of furniture and other things you're interested in buying prior to moving into your new apartment. I'm not talking about the home decor items. I'm talking about the priority items like your bed, your couch. Even a couch can be a secondary item. You can sit on a regular chair until you're ready to buy a couch. When you look at the price of a bed, a mattress, and a couch, your chest might drop a little bit. But it's okay. If you save towards it, at least you're prepared. But those costs will humble you, Sha. And please give yourself time in this process. Your entire apartment does not need to look like your Pinterest board within 48 hours of moving in. It can take you weeks, months, or even sometimes a year or so for you to get your apartment to look how you want it to. And that is okay. It is okay to take your time in this process and actually enjoy the steps of you gradually making your apartment your home. It is a very beautiful process. And if well prepared, you'll be very proud at how much you're learning throughout this process. Prior to even looking for apartments, an important factor that I want to mention is researching the neighborhood. If you're moving to a completely different state that you've never lived in before, you definitely want to do in-depth research on what areas are the best for you to live in terms of your safety or even proximity to work and school for you. However, if you're not moving out of state and you're moving within the state you're familiar with, that's even better. Still research the areas to make sure it fits exactly what you're looking for in terms of proximity to things you frequent. And again, safety is very important. Just because an area is cheap does not mean it is for you to live there. I remember when I first moved to Philly and I was looking for places to live, and the apartments in Kensington were beautiful. I was like, oh my God, the rent here is so cheap. The apartments are so nicely done. And then I found out what Kensington was about. And thank God for research. Definitely consider using a crime map or safe neighborhood checker. They have a bunch of those on Google, and use that to look at your zip code and the area of interest to make sure you will be at safety. So let's talk about how to find a suitable apartment for you. Now, we're not getting to this step without actually knowing how much we're working with. Before you start any apartment search, you need a number. How much is comfortable rent for you? So there is a comfortable amount of rent that you want to have in mind. And then you also want to have your max budget where you know you're not exceeding that rent price. No matter what, you really do have to be disciplined in this point because if not, you're going to end up spending more than you can afford. So one of the most common ways that I look for apartment, of course, is Google search. Google is a good tool in looking for apartments. Of course, you can just search in best apartments in so area or safe apartment or whatever search you want to type in, or just apartments in state, and you will find some suggestions. Of course, there's apartment search websites like Zillow, Trulia, apartment.com, and a whole bunch of them out there. Those are the top 3 that I use. Another tip I use when I'm looking for apartments is going on Google Maps and finding the area of interest and just zooming into that area and typing in apartments. And then I filter by top rated. This is one of the best ways that I get to see apartments because you see a lot of the apartments within that area, and you're also looking at ratings as well. I care about apartment ratings. I'm so sorry, but I'm not living in an apartment complex where the ratings are telling me that there is mice running around. No, I ain't doing it. Using this search method, you also get to see apartments that don't often come up in other search engines as well. So now you have found the neighborhood that you feel comfortable with. You found about 5 apartments that you have interest with, and you're weighing it in terms of what you like about the finishes or the apartment complex itself, or where you see yourself on the day to day, and you also have your budget down packed, and you're ready to start planning your move, there's still stuff you have to keep in mind. Another thing you have to keep in mind is the time allotted for touring your apartments. I highly suggest actually touring apartments before moving in, because you get to ask all of the questions and you get to see exactly what you're getting, and avoiding being in a what I asked for versus what I got situation. Not everyone has the opportunity to tour an apartment complex before they move into it, but this is where you depend on reviews and extreme research so that you're not shocked by the things that you weren't able to see when you do move in. If you're interested in seeing an apartment touring video, I have mine up on my Instagram, Tabby Talk, where I was able to tour a couple of units before I moved into the DMV area. There are some common mistakes I would suggest avoided in this process. First things first, you do not want to overcommit financially. Do not overextend yourself when it comes to your budget for rent. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm mentioning this like 10 times. Do not go over what is comfortable for you. Another mistake is neglecting your lease. You're excited, you've got the apartment, you're ready to move in. When you get that lease, don't just say, yeah, let me just sign it. No, you have to read that lease, because when it comes down to it, let's say you have to repair something in your unit and you reach out to your landlord, they're going to tell you, oh, you are going to have to cover this cost. And you'll be shook because you didn't know that, but it's in your lease. Everything should be in your lease so that you're not taken aback. So definitely read your lease in depth. Another mistake that we make when moving is forgetting the little details. Don't forget to set up your utilities. Sometimes you might have to do this yourself. Some units might already be set up for you, but you want to find out that detail before moving in. You also want to remember to set up your Wi-Fi. And lastly, another mistake that I would suggest you avoid making is not checking the apartment when you move in. When you move in, you definitely want to do a walkthrough of the unit to make sure everything is exactly as you want it to be. If you notice any cracks or breaks, you want to report that, or at least document it immediately, so that if it comes up when you're moving out or later down the line, you have evidence to show that that was there when you moved in and it is not your fault, because these landlords can get a little shady. So beat them to the race. I would suggest creating a move out or move in checklist to help you keep things organized and keep your mind at ease. This way you have a list to check and you are not forgetting the little details as well. If you have never moved out on your own and you're considering doing it, congratulations and good luck to you. You got this. You can definitely take this step of independence and you're going to do well. I am more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Leave them in the comment below, send me an email, hit me up on Instagram. Let's chat a little bit and ask me any further questions you might need. Enjoy the process. Don't forget to DIY and save some costs. Cut the budget down. Don't get too carried away with the decor. And remember to respect the finances, okay? The future you is going to thank you. Thank you so much for sticking with me today, and I will see you on my next video.